Does x plus y equal 5? So we have a straightforward data sufficiency question. No given information in our prompt, just a question. Before I move on to my statements, though, one thing I don't want to do here is, if I were to see this and I wanted to rephrase my question, some people might rephrase it as just what is x and y? And I'm saying you would not want to do that because even though it is true, if you were able to solve for x and y individually, that would be sufficient to answer the question. Let's review for a second what data sufficiency is really asking for. It's asking for the minimum information needed to answer the question. So while it is true, so if statement 1 said x is 2, statement 2 said y is equal to 3, that would be sufficient. You do not need to know x and y individually, though, because say your first statement said, for example, 5x plus 5y is equal to 25. Well, here you can factor out a 5. And then you can just divide each side by 5 to get x plus y is equal to 5, which is sufficient to answer my question, despite the fact I don't know what x is, I don't know what y is. So if I really wanted to rephrase this question, I wouldn't rephrase it like this. I would just rephrase it as what is x plus y? Now we can move on to the statements. So first statement says 4x plus y is equal to 17. Then just sort of from glancing at each of these statements, it looks like my answer is almost certainly going to be C. So I'll write them both out to start. Because so it looks like from neither of these statements individually, they each have 2 variables, but I'm not able to isolate x plus y in either of these 2 statements. However, together, I have 2 equations, 2 variables. I should be able to solve for x and y individually. Remember, so even though we said we don't need x and y individually, if we could find that, that would be sufficient to answer. And it looks like together, that's what's going to happen here. And so if you were confident in your ability to interpret these equations, you can just say C and move on. One thing you do have to worry about is this. If, for example, these 2 equations were really just the same equation, then you don't really have 2 unique equations, and you can be misled. So if you actually wanted to solve them together, so we said individually, each of them not sufficient. Together, you can try solving for x and y individually, or even easier, one thing that I noticed is that if I were to just add these 2 equations together, I get the equation I wrote out before. And here I know x plus y can be isolated by factoring out this 5. So together, I can figure out that x plus y actually is equal to 5, which is good to answer yes, sufficient to answer yes to our question C.